Ladies, today, we're having the conversation. We're talking about heartbreak and healing. Of course, from our very own experience. Like, what else do we have to refer to? I'm your girl, Yolande. And with me today, I've got Maureen. I'm going to let Maureen tell you a little bit more about herself just now. But as I said, we're talking about heartbreak and healing in the context of the book, the ebook that Heartbreak wrote for me. I never intended to write a book. I didn't even write it. Heartbreak wrote it for me. And it's not your typical book. It's a collection of the poems that took me through heartbreak and quote unquote to the point of healing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I'm going to let Maureen tell you a bit about herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Maureen. I am Kenyan. I've been on the island most of my life, the island of Ireland, and I am a mom of three boys. I've been separated now for about 2 years, and gosh, I do counseling workshops. I'm very passionate about seeing women heal and recover from generational trauma, childhood trauma, religious trauma, which, yeah. Um, and I also sing. I'm passionate about music, and yeah, I guess you'll find out more about me. But those are like the core things about who I am.
So modest, the core things in the context of this conversation, and two takeaways. I forgot to say that today we're recording from beautiful Northern Ireland.
Yes, we are.
And as a and as a matter of fact, you can tell the differences in the pronunciations. See the way I said her name versus the way she says her own name. So please forgive me.
Oh, girl, it's not a thing.
It's all right. So, guys, and when I say guys, I'm gonna be honest. This conversation, my heart is for the woman. How much you women mean to me, and particularly in the experiences that I've had over the last year, words cannot express. But men, if you're listening, this is also for you. So let's just talk a little bit more about the book, the conversation, heartbreak. A year ago, September 15th, to be exact, 2024, my marriage or relationship of 27 years, 16 of those being years I spent married, ended rather suddenly. And in that context, I lost myself, honestly lost myself. I didn't know what to do. I lost weight very rapidly. I literally couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. And if you think of it in this way, I felt like I was going to not make it into the next day. And so, one of the things that I discovered as this journey began to unfold was the whole idea that people were saying to me, you have to sit in your pain. You have to sit in your pain. But what does that really mean practically? I couldn't sit at home and stare at the four walls because tears were blinding me. The pain was killing me. What did it really mean? And for me, I discovered it meant putting pen to paper. That was the only way that I could articulate my pain. That was the only way that I could actually sit in my pain. I took up a pen and paper. Every single moment that I couldn't understand what I was feeling, I took up a pen and paper and I started to write it down. I'm going to share maybe the first poem I ever wrote with you in a minute. But what we're going to do in terms of the conversation, I'm probably going to just throw Maureen under the bus and ask her to tell us a little bit more about her experience with heartbreak and perhaps what it was for her to sit in her pain. What did that mean?
Well, so I think before any man ever broke my heart, a woman had broken my heart.
Aww.
I think. I think my mother is my first and probably biggest heartbreak.
Oh.
And for 12 years, I did not live with her. I felt, I felt like an orphan because I never met my dad either. And, I would see my mom here and there once or twice a year, and that leaves a hole in your heart. So I was desperate for love. I've been desperate for love since since I can remember. I just wanted somebody to love me, somebody to want me. And so I dated just anybody that would take me.
Wow.
There was no, do you know what I mean? Like, I never really, there was no, do I want this person? There was an element of that, but it was like if somebody told me they liked me, that was it. Do you know what I mean? I might not have liked you, but that was it. So I've known heartbreak, some of it of my own making, a lot of it rooted in a lot of my childhood trauma. And when I got separated 2 years ago, that was not the biggest, but it was gradual and then abrupt. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I couldn't even walk up the stairs. The night that I decided that this was it, I literally crawled up the stairs. The pain was just so unbearable. And and in the last 2 years, I've had weekends where all I've done is cry. I've cried. I've eaten, because I didn't have so my kids go to their dads on the weekend. I have little kids, 9, 7, and 4. There were weekends when I would drop them off and just come home and just cry, and eat cans of sweet corn, and that was my breakfast, lunch, and dinner because that's all I had in the house, and that's all I had the strength to do.
Do you know what? It is so interesting. We can probably have this conversation all night because a lot of what you've said there for me, I can draw parallels from. And the very first thing you said has thrown me because it never really dawned on me that the heartbreak conversation we're having now about a man or centering men as the main reason for heartbreak. A lot of us, the heartbreak and experiences of heartbreak happened initially long before that.
Yeah.
So that was, for me, a very sensitive kind of chord that I wasn't ready to even hear or to touch on. So that's another conversation for another day. But if you're listening and this resonates with you, we got you. We're being bold.
Yeah.
The other parallels that I want to draw on very quickly, one that you said, and you don't really need to talk about it that much if you don't want to, but you said that you couldn't crawl up the stairs when you ended it. For me, it wasn't my decision to end it. I felt discarded. It was his decision. I would have still been married today if it was his decision.
Yeah.
And finally, for you, it's been 2 years. And sometimes I wonder, how long is healing? That's another conversation. Is it ever going to end?
Healing is a journey. So
I've been 1 year in. 1 year.
It's a journey, and I think it's one of those journeys where
no timeline.
Yeah. Because you loved that person with everything, right? When I got married for life. There was no, obviously there were things that I was like, okay, I would not put up with that if he did that. But generally, even then, even the night that I'm like, oh, I knew it was over, I still tried for a bit longer. Do you know what I mean? So he's always going to be, and I have kids with this person, so do you.
Yeah. Big difference, big parallels. Small kids versus grown adults. And although people might think that grown adults don't hurt, because of divorce, they do. However, my hats are off to those of us women or men who may have gone through separation and divorce and were left to look after the children.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys could have done it. Maybe that's the reason I stayed for 27 years.
A lot of
couldn't have done it.
I've had so many
Couldn't have done
people,
it.
so many people are like, oh, but you have little kids. I'm like, yeah, but I want them to see what healthy looks like. I don't want to be resentful at them for staying. you know?
Mm.
So for me, and you know, you talked about how I made the decision. I made the verbal decision. I think a lot of the time. So there's a reason why women are the highest. We ask for divorce. The highest number of us ask for divorce
Not because we
most
want
men,
to.
yeah, most men won't ask. So they won't tell you when a relationship is over. They'll just treat you like the relationship.
The big word, narcissism. We're not going there.
Let's not go there. But they will, you know, they'll treat you like it's over. You'll keep asking the same thing over and over again.
But the thing is, though, there's a lot that you know is being thrown around on social media. Recently, I mean, in recent times, you know, a lot of words, narcissism, pick me, and all these different, you know, terminologies. And I'm gonna say something on camera today, guys. I must have been married too long. It was never until I had to search for words to articulate how I was feeling that I learned what was narcissism. A big educated woman like me, with how many degrees, spent my entire life, basically, until last year, without knowing what narcissism or narcissistic abuse meant.
Yeah.
We all have narcissistic traits. I'm not calling or labeling anybody today. I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying, I started to learn. I started to research things that I would have overlooked or probably didn't even think existed.
Yeah.
I was too happy.
Yeah. I think it's not until you're going through, you know, a big heartbreak that when you go on a deep dive of searching, right? Because I don't know if you're like me, where if something's happening, I'm like, I wonder if there's a YouTube video on this. And last week, my YouTube search was older Black women bullying younger Black women.
Oh,
because I had a situation. And I was just like, this can't be a thing. Guess what? It's a thing. There are thousands of videos made on the topic. And for me, it's like, oh, so for me, I came across narcissism maybe about 8 years ago.
Wow.
When I was coming to terms with the relationship with my mother.
Wow.
And I stayed up till 3:30, and then an article about narcissism came up, and then a quiz, and then I did the quiz, and I was like, oh. You know, all of a sudden there was words to what I had gone through all my life.
Interesting.
So,
there you go. And we're talking about words. That's probably why a lot of my emotions are poured into verse or words in the form of poetry, which we will get back to. But you've hinted at a couple of things that probably would answer my next kind of throughout question. And I suppose raising small children might be one of them. I'm not putting words in your mouth. But the biggest challenge in this journey, what was it or what is it for you?
So I like spooning.
This conversation, I'm not prepared for it.
I just keep throwing curveballs.
I love it.